Dan Wills, The Value of a Non-Traditional Education. Dan was not like most students in the fact that he was a troublemaker who didn't like school at all. He hated being in school and often skipped school and got into fights. When he did go to school, he could be found ditching class or smoking in the bathroom. He was written off by many teachers, as he and his group of friends were often referred to as techies. They were expected to go nowhere in life. Dan was born on January 10, 1962. He was born into a middle-class family and spent his entire childhood in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He was the oldest of three with two younger sisters. Dan grew up under a strict military father. His father often maintained a blue-collar job working with a shipping company as a supervisor. His mother stayed at home and promoted strong Catholic ideals. Dan attended private Catholic schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. He spent his elementary and middle school years at St. Anthony in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. St. Anthony was established as a church in 1870, but didn't offer education until 1877, when it also became a boarding school. St. Anthony has been around for over 100 years, promoting a strong religious curriculum. After completing the 8th grade, Dan would move on to Lancaster Catholic High School. Lancaster Catholic High was established in 1930. In 1970, the school decided to partner with a local vocational school, Mount Joy, in order to offer trade classes for those interested in this field. Since the 1970s, enrollment size has maintained around 800 students per year. Dan was taught mostly by regular teachers, but did have an occasional nun or priest as a teacher. His school had a majority white population, around 95%, and housed middle-class students. Even in high school, Dan found little value and hated school. The only school involvement he had was with the school football team where he was a running back. This he found was a good outlet for his frustration he had toward school. Dan still got into trouble quite frequently and caused problems with his teachers. One of his sisters even recalls a story where Dan threw another student through a stained glass window. Due to his grades and poor attendance in school, Dan was allowed to spend half the day in a regular school and half the day at Mount Joy Technical Institute. While here, Dan found a passion for graphic arts and design. After completing high school, Dan would return here for 3 more years in order to receive a certificate in graphic arts. While in tech school, Dan performed well as the subject matter interested him and allowed for hands-on training. Dan was the first and only member in his family to achieve something greater than a high school diploma. His father went straight into the military after finishing high school, and his mother married shortly after her graduation. His 2 sisters would later go straight from high school into the workforce. Dan has continued to work in the graphic arts field for over 30 years at various designs and printing companies. He currently works for Wycliffe, helping design and print Bibles in various languages. Not being the most attentive student, Dan recalls little to no social issues that were present in his school directly. This may be due to the issue of it being a private institution or the overwhelming white population. The same cannot be said for the surrounding schools and towns, however. In 1969, in York, a small town 20 miles away, they faced a race riot due to violence between whites and black gangs. 10 years later, McCaskey, the local public high school, would be put on lockdown due to racial tensions between the students. While social issues of that time had little effect on Dan, if Dan would have grew up in the current generation, he would be at a big disadvantage. Many of his actions while as a child could have gotten him expelled from school or could have even landed him in jail. While a school offered the opportunity to attend certified technical classes, it no longer does today. If this opportunity wasn't present, it may have caused him to drop out of school, as these classes were relief from the strain of everyday life. While not the best student, Dan took advantage of opportunities that were presented to him in order to make the most out of his situation.